Hello, this is the last part of the chapter called Because Russian Guys Are Not Always Geniuses. I'm at the very, very bottom of page 208. Last line, 208. 2 days later, we buried my sister in the Catholic graveyard down near the powwow ground. I barely remember the wake. I barely remember the funeral service. I barely remembered the burial. I was in this weird fog. No, it was more like I was in this small room, the smallest room in the world. I could reach out and touch the walls, which were made of greasy glass. I could see shadows, but I couldn't see details, And I was cold, just freezing, like there was a snowstorm blowing inside of my chest. But all of that fog and greasy glass and snow disappeared when they lowered my sister's coffin into the grave. And let me tell you, it had taken them forever to dig that grave in the frozen ground. As the coffin settled into the dirt, it made this noise, almost like a breath, like a sigh, like the coffin was settling down for a long, long nap, for a forever nap. That was it. I had to get out of there. I turned and ran out of the graveyard and into the woods across the road. I planned on running deep into the woods, so deep that I'd never be found. But guess what? I ran full speed into Rowdy and sent us both sprawling. Sprawling means falling flat on the ground. Yep, Rowdy had been hiding in the woods while he watched the burial. Wow. Rowdy sat up. I sat up too. We sat there together. Rowdy was crying. His face was shiny with tears. Rowdy, I said, you're crying. I ain't crying, he said. You're crying. I touched my face. It was dry. No tears yet. I can't remember how to cry, I said. That made Rowdy sort of choke. He gasped a little, and more tears rolled down his face. You're crying, I said. No, I'm not. It's okay. I miss my sister too. I love her. I said I'm not crying. It's okay. I reached out and touched Rowdy's shoulder. Big mistake. He punched me. Well, he almost punched me. He threw a punch, but he missed. Rowdy missed a punch. His fist went sailing over my head. Wow, I said. You missed. I missed on purpose. No, you didn't. You missed because your eyes are filled with tears. That made me laugh. Yep, I started laughing like a crazy man again. I rolled around on the cold frozen ground and laughed and laughed and laughed. I didn't want to laugh. I wanted to stop laughing. I wanted to grab Rowdy and hang on to him. He was my best friend and I needed him. But I couldn't stop laughing. I looked at Rowdy and he was crying hard now. He thought I was laughing at him. Normally, Rowdy would have absolutely murdered anybody who dared to laugh at him. But this was not a normal day. It's all your fault, he said. What's my fault? I asked. Your sister is dead because you left us. You killed her. That made me stop laughing. I suddenly felt like I might never laugh again. Rowdy was right. I had killed my sister. Well, I didn't kill her, but she only got married so quickly and left the res because I had left the res first. She was only living in Montana in a cheap trailer house because I had gone to school in Reardon. She had burned to death because I had decided that I wanted to spend my life with white people. It was my fault. I hate you, Rowdy screamed. I hate you. I hate you. And then he jumped up and ran away. Rowdy ran. He'd never run away from anything or anybody. But now he was running. I watched him disappear into the woods. I wondered if I'd ever see him again. The next morning, I went to school. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to sit at home all day and talk to a million cousins. I knew my mother would be cooking food for everybody and that my father would be hiding out in his bedroom again. I knew everybody would tell stories about Mary, and the whole time I'd be thinking, yeah, but have you ever heard the story about how I killed my sister when I left the res? And the whole time, everybody would be drinking booze and getting drunk and stupid and sad and mean. Yeah, doesn't that make sense? How do we honor the drunken death of a young married couple? Hey, let's get drunk. Okay, listen, I'm not a cruel bastard, okay? I know that people were very sad. I knew that my sister's death made everybody remember all the deaths in their life. I know that death is never added to death. It multiplies. But still, I couldn't stay and watch all of those people get drunk. I couldn't do it. If you'd ever given me a room full of sober Indians, crying and laughing and telling stories about my sister, then I would have gladly stayed and joined them in the ceremony. But everybody was drunk. Everybody was unhappy. And they were drunk and unhappy in the same exact way. So I fled my house and went to school. I walked through the snow for a few miles until a white BIA worker picked me up and delivered me to the front door. I walked inside into the crowded hallways, and all sorts of boys and girls and teachers came up and hugged me, slapped my shoulder, gave me little punches in the belly. They were worried for me. They wanted to help me with my pain. I was important to them. I mattered. Wow. All of these white kids and teachers, who were suspicious of me when I first arrived, had learned to care about me. Maybe some of them even loved me. And I'd been so suspicious of them. And now I care about a lot of them, and loved a few of them. Penelope came up to me last. She was weeping. Snot ran down her face, and it was still sort of sexy. "I'm so sorry about your sister," she said. I didn't know what to say to her. What do you say to people when they ask you how it feels to lose everything, when every planet in your solar system has exploded?